With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the Match Sports Connection podcast, where Alex hosts all things Mac, all things football, all things sports, right here, Match Sports Connection, baby. The Mid-American Conference best, bringing it only the great Mac to everyone.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Max Sports Connection podcast, the #1 Mid-American podcast on the market. Make sure you guys have liked, subscribed, and more on all of your favorite podcast apps. Graham, welcome back. That's Graham. I'm Alex. We are happy to have you guys here. Wow, we've got some football this week, Graham.
This intro was wild, man. First of all, we're the #1 Mid-American podcast, not Mid-American Conference, just Mid-American. Anyone from Middle America loves to be here. Second of all, like, subscribe, and more. What's the and more, Alex? Where are we going here?
Obviously, Graham.
Tell
your friends, tell your grandma, tell your cousins.
Yeah,
talk about us at Thanksgiving this week.
Please do. And please, somebody talk to Alex. He's so starved for communication. That's right, Alex. We're winding down when it comes to MAC football season. And it's getting exciting. This last week, though, we were talking before we started the show. This last week wasn't so exciting, but it's getting more exciting as we get closer to that ever anticipated MAC championship game in Detroit.
I don't even know what to say at this point. We're so close. We have 6 more games of the regular season. 6. Akron is done playing football this year. Akron ends the year on a bye week, which sucks because they're not going to a bowl game. We're almost done this season. Blink of an eye. Unreal.
Absolutely. Well, Akron followed that get in and get out kind of idea with their season this year. They went, let's get these games done as quickly as possible. We have other things to do. And
they thought it was a race, not a football game. And they won the race.
The Zips are officially done with college football this year. But some teams weren't. And Alex, this past week, we got to see Akron's last game. Akron took down Bowling Green in what I come to think of as a field goal fest. Both teams did end up scoring a touchdown in the third quarter, but the final score 19-16 in favor of the Zips. One extra field goal was the win for Akron. And I think maybe hopeful for Akron fans that they didn't end up with 6 wins and mathematical bowl eligibility, because that would have made this season feel pretty bittersweet in terms of the APR postseason ban.
Yeah, I think we saw what we expected. Sorry, I should rephrase that. We saw better than what we expected out of Akron. When you and I talked preseason, we had talked about this idea that, is Akron going to try to play spoiler, or is Akron going to try to just kind of roll over and just kind of accept what happened this year? And Graham, based off of how the MAC championship picture is looking, Akron might have played spoiler to the Central Michigan Chippewas. We'll get into that later, but Akron didn't just roll over this year.
Yeah, I was going to say Akron didn't play super spoiler. They may have spoiled things for Central Michigan. They may have spoiled things for Buffalo. But for the most part, Akron won against teams that they should win against, and lost against teams who were just better teams. It's hard to chalk this season up as anything other than a loss for the Zips, who had a postseason ban and who lost to their rivals, but they had a couple of big wins, like we said, over Central Michigan and over Buffalo. So, I think when you're weighing the season, pretty mid for Akron, to be honest. But things may be looking up. Maybe a great season coming up in the future. A great season in the present. Western Michigan took down NIU this past week, 35-19. Western looked the better team the whole time. This one wasn't very close. It was actually less close than the score lets on.
This one, yeah, you had to feel like when you watch this game, Western was just going to take care of it and just kind of dominate. Northern Illinois, they came out swinging. It was their final home game against Western Michigan, and they played tough. They were up 13-0 at one point in this contest. Western Michigan bounces back, takes a 14-13 lead. And then really the Broncos just galloped away with it in the second half. The stats that I found interesting, Jalen Buckley, great game on the ground. He was fantastic. Brock Lowry, I think probably his worst game all season. 5 of 9 for 34 yards, 32 yards, and an interception. But the Broncos defense they took care of business and forced mistakes. The ground game got it done for Western Michigan. And yeah, the Broncos galloped out of DeKalb with a victory and the inside track to the MAC championship.
Yeah, I think Western Michigan has been showing up on defense all year, and this week was no different. Similarly, the Ohio offense showed up all year and showed up again this week. C.A. Bangura, more like Sia Bangura, put up 196 yards on the ground. That's a career high for him. 4 yards shy of a 200-yard game for C.A. Bangura. And he's been great for Ohio. As much as we like to talk about Parker Navarro and this Ohio passing attack, C.A. Bangura has been great on the ground for the Bobcats. And another great game as they take down UMass 42-14.
Yeah, this again, another opportunity taken advantage of. Ohio, I've got concerns about Ohio now. Ohio, who has looked great most of the year. You've had a couple speed bumps this year. Parker Navarro, that has looked rough the last couple games. And I don't know what's going on. The last 2 games combined, he has 11 completions on, get this, 27 pass attempts with 1 interception and under 90 yards, under 80 yards, actually.
Yeah.
Under 100 yards. He's at 98 yards officially with 1 interception in 2 games.
Now,
some of that is Navarro.
Some of that is we chalk it up to midweek action. You talk about November weather in the Midwest, and the way these games turn out, especially at night. The weather is unpredictable. Harder to throw the ball in those games. And you'll notice the opposing quarterbacks in the games Parker Navarro's thrown have done only a little better than he has. So certainly a lot of it's due to that. But it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell where this Ohio passing attack went. But I think in these games, if you're Ohio, you're looking at these games and going, if the ground attack is working, why not just keep handing the ball off to C.A. Bangura? This guy has been unstoppable, and he's looked incredible. And I don't blame the Ohio Bobcats at all to continue handing him the rock. Let him put it in the end zone. That seems like a great game plan to me, and it's worked out for them.
Yeah, he's in the last 5 weeks, every game has been 100+ yards. The one game that was under 100 yards, he still had 97 against Western Michigan. This is your stud. This is the guy you got to really rely on. And I love, we've seen guys in the conference kind of leave, go elsewhere, come back. But I love that Bangura came back to Ohio. We talked about DeQuan Finn in that situation last week at Miami. I love that Bangura came back to Ohio, and he's been very humble from everything that I've heard, everything I've read. He has been incredibly humble about his approach, about how he wants to come in and help Ohio be successful. Now, Ohio is probably not going to get to their fourth straight season of 10 wins, but an opportunity to get to at least 9 wins to close this thing out. That's not bad. That you're doing pretty good if you're the Ohio Bobcats.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately for Ohio, it looks like that loss to Western Michigan might be the nail in the coffin for this team. There are not many scenarios where they get to make the MAC championship. They still have a chance. They definitely need to beat Buffalo this week, but it's getting harder and harder. So that loss to Western Michigan looms large for them. The other team who has maybe the second best shot of making the MAC championship outside of Western Michigan, Miami, the Red Hawks took on Buffalo and got the victory there on Wednesday night, 37-20. This game looked close on the scoreboard, didn't look super close on the field.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about Miami. I mean, yeah, they came out. Taquan Robertson. Buffalo needs to figure out something with him. This dude still threw for 300 yards. Now, he only had 50% completion percentage, 24 of 48, but this dude came out, threw for, 303 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But Miami just looking like a well-oiled machine after a couple speed bumps against Ohio and Toledo. They've got a good shot at getting to the MAC championship off of some funky tiebreakers, but this is a really good Miami team right now, and I'm excited to see what they do. They get Ball State next week, and I don't know, Graham, 6-5, a shot at the MAC championship. They're playing good football at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that's the story of the season. Like every season, like every team in the MAC this season, kind of some inexplicable ups and downs throughout, but you play good football at the right time and put yourself in a position to get to the MAC championship game. Anything can happen. And these scenarios have been kind of nuts as we're drawing them up and looking at the number of teams we have with 2 conference losses. It would be a super interesting way to finish the season if we ended up with like 4 or 5, 6-2 teams.
Yeah, it's pretty unreal how this season is shaped out, with potential tiebreakers, with everything that's kind of wrapped up into this season. I don't know. I'm excited for what Miami can do. Let's talk about the other team that night, who's playing for MAC championship, Central Michigan.
Another team who could finish 6-2.
Yeah, like literally, it's unreal. The tiebreakers that we're looking at right now. Central Michigan, to Kent State's credit, they came out, played tough on senior night. I thought this was really a better game than what the score kind of reflected. I feel like Central Michigan, they struggled a little bit. I mean, they were up 10-3 or 14-3 at half, but the offense wasn't cruising as much as I was expecting it to. But hats off to the defense. Heading up the defensive court, Jordan Kwiatkowski, just absolutely dominant, 14 tackles on the night. But Central Michigan and Kent State really kind of trading blows, especially in that second half.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this after the Kent State Akron game. Kent State has an offense that is very inconsistent, but occasionally explosive. And it's really hard to defend against that kind of offense. With an offense where at any given time you could have a guy streak down the field for 89 yards and a score. So tough to defend against that. Central Michigan did a pretty good job all night defending against that. We didn't see a ton of offense from Central Michigan, but they had a few plays that got through, and 28 points is nothing to sneeze at. So I think the Chippewas certainly one of those teams competing for a spot in the MAC championship, and well deserved. They've had a good season all year. They've been a little outdone by their in-state rival in Western Michigan, but I'm sure we wouldn't be disappointed to see the two match up in the MAC championship game. The other team who has a shot at this MAC championship game. Toledo took on Ball State on Saturday. This one, I really have nothing to say about it. Toledo took down Ball State 38-9. It was Toledo's game the whole time. There was never any doubt.
Well, Toledo did exactly what you do. You had a moment where there was a blocked punt, and Toledo literally said, "No, we're not losing this game. We're undefeated at home. We're not gonna break that streak now." Toledo found themselves up 24-3 at halftime. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say this with all the love and the care and respect in the world: the Kyle Kelly experiment at Ball State was a failure. And I don't mean this to be disrespectful to Kyle Kelly. I think that he has been such an electric athlete and so fun to watch. This year, he put up under 1,400 yards, 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. His completion percentage was 55.8. And that's his best season. He's been with Ball State for 4 years now. Now, in fairness, last year, he was on the defensive side of the ball. But I think that we can almost pretty much chalk this. Now, he could go out and just beat the brakes off of Miami this week and make me look absolutely foolish with this statement. I think the Kyle Kelly experiment in Muncie was a failure. And that's okay. Now you got to find who your next quarterback is.
The gravity with which you said the Kyle Kelly experiment is a failure in Muncie. I love that for you. I don't think it's that serious. Ball State had not a great team this year, and they ended up with not a great season. I think we're going to look to see if the Cardinals can reload, if they can rebuild or whatever the word is for this Cardinals team. But I think at the end of the day, it's just that Ball State wasn't that good this year. We don't have to be so serious about the Kyle Kelly experiment.
It was a failure, Graham. It was a failure.
Yeah, and I know. We love that failure word. But in this case, Toledo has been a better team all year long, and that came out on the scoreboard. Now, if you're interested in listening to more than box scores and maybe catching a little bit of game action, you can hear a little bit about the Cardinals and their blocked punt. You could check out the Varsity app. Isn't that right, Alex?
Yeah, the Varsity app. You guys definitely want to have this. I know season's winding down, but we are heading into basketball season, so something for you to kind of hang your hats on a little bit. With the Varsity app by Lairfield, you can download and listen to all of your favorite calls from across the Big Ten, the Mid-American Conference, the SEC, and more. Your voices who bring this conference to life, your teams to life, available on that app. It is free to download in the Apple App Store, Google Play Store. You can log in, save your favorite sports and your favorite schools. And not to mention, you can save your favorite podcasts, including yours truly, the Mac Sports Connection podcast, Sickos Committee podcast, Group of Five Guys podcast, and many more on the Varsity Podcast Network by Lairfield. So make sure you guys download the Varsity Network app today. Start listening to the calls and broadcasts that bring your schools, conferences, and programs to life.
Alex, coming up this week, we have all of the games matter, except for 2 of them don't matter. So some of the games matter, Alex, and that's what we're going to talk about is which games matter coming up this week in terms of who goes to the MAC championship. But first, we're going to talk about a game that doesn't. It just doesn't have any implication on the MAC championship game. That's Bowling Green taking on UMass in Amherst. Does UMass get their first win of the season, Alex?
You know, if you had asked me this question 3 weeks ago, I say no. Graham, you're asking me this question on the final week of the season, a year in which Bowling Green saw themselves lose to Akron and Kent State. I think there's a really good chance UMass finds a win this weekend, or this week, rather. I really do. I think there's an opportunity for UMass because, one, and you and I have talked about this, I believe you actually said this, nobody ever wants to go winless. And I don't want to say it's hard to go winless, but it feels really hard to go winless You're UMass, you're at home. I know Bowling Green is favored. Every game UMass has played this year, their opponents were favored, and UMass has just gotten the break speed off of them. Bowling Green's on a 5-game losing streak right now, dating back to when? Their win over Toledo. Their win over Toledo, by the way, in which, frankly, Toledo doesn't collapse. Bowling Green is winless in conference play this year. I think there's a real shot that UMass finds a win over the Bowling Green Falcons. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying there's a very real shot that this happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bowling Green has had as you said, a run of tough luck. So I think they're looking to end their losing streak. Also, a loss to UMass is embarrassing. So as much as UMass has to play for, BG also has reasons to win this game. Neither of these teams are going to the postseason in any form. Neither of these teams are up for a MAC championship. So this one's all about pride. And we'll see what happens. Maybe an interesting game to turn on Tuesday afternoon. This one Tuesday at 4:30 on ESPNU. So maybe check that one out from Amherst. The game that you probably should be watching on Tuesday night is, although actually at this point, when you're hearing this podcast, you will have already watched it. This is 7:30 on Tuesday at ESPN2. Western Michigan takes on in-state rival Eastern Michigan. This one in Ypsilanti. Eastern is good at the factory. I'll tell you that. And so there is something to be said for the Eastern Eagles maybe having a better chance than we originally would have given them. That being said, this Western defense has been no joke all year, Alex. So I think this is a tough one to pick.
Western's defense has been, and I know you and I have talked about it before. I've been so impressed with this Western team. I think we kind of wrote them off at the beginning of the year. Not saying that they weren't going to be competitive, but I think saying that, they didn't have the horses to keep up with some of the other teams in the conference. I really like what this Western defense has done, but I really think that Eastern Michigan, they're not going to the postseason themselves. At best they're going to finish 5-7. So no postseason for them, but an opportunity to potentially spoil Western Michigan's MAC championship hopes. It's a rival. Why wouldn't you want that?
Yeah, Eastern Michigan gets this game at home. That's great for them. Eastern Michigan has an especially prolific passing attack, under Noah Kim. So that's a plus, and it's a rivalry. So that's a plus. I think Eastern has a better shot in this game than most folks will give them credit for. That being said, Western has been the best team in the conference all year. So I think certainly the Broncos are favored in this one, but I think it's closer than it would appear on paper. Now, Alex, I've got a question for you. Do Black Friday games count as midweek action?
Well, I tend to define the middle of the week as Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, people always said, working for the weekend, and in an office setting, the weekend counts starting at 5:00 p.m. on a Friday. So I'm inclined to say no. That being said,
both of these games start before 5 p.m.
Both of them start before 5:00. So I think in the case of it being a holiday weekend, they count as weekend games. But if this was just a regular normal work week, I say you count them as midweek games.
Okay, so you heard it here first, folks. Alex calling these not midweek action games. I'm going to say that all of the chaos that happens in a midweek action game is still going to show up on this Black Friday. First, another game that is inconsequential for MAC championship game results. Kent State taking on Northern Illinois. This one noon on CBS Sports Network in DeKalb. I think this one is interesting, at least in terms of our power rankings. We have several people contributing to our power rankings, And it's always interesting for me to look and see at the bottom of the conference how things shake out. And week over week, we've seen Northern Illinois and Kent State and Northern Illinois in various permutations there. So this is the defining factor. Which of these teams is better? I think this will be a close game. I think this is the closest spread of the week in any of our MAC games this week. Again, no bearing on postseason play. Neither of these teams can become bowl eligible. Neither of these teams are within reach of the MAC championship game. So this one, all about pride. I think Kent State on the road, that's tough in a game that doesn't technically mean anything. That's tough. That being said, Kent State has had a couple of games like that in the last 2 weeks, and they've won both of them. So I wouldn't put it past Kent State to win this one either. I don't have a pick right now. I think we'll save that for our weekly pick'em. But this is certainly a game that you should watch, unless, of course, you're going to watch the other game on Friday, also at noon. This one on ESPNU, Ohio taking on Buffalo. This one, heavy MAC championship game implications.
I got to tell you, I did not expect this race to be heating up the way it has. And Ohio is playing for everything. Buffalo, they want to play spoiler. They want to inch closer to the top of the MAC standings, obviously ineligible to go to the MAC championship, but they want to go to a bowl game. Buffalo, after a 9-4 season a year ago, you kind of feel like they let us down a little bit here at 5-6 with 1 to go. And I think Buffalo, they want to play a little bit of spoiler for Ohio. But again, more importantly, they want to send their seniors out with an opportunity to compete for a bowl championship. So I like this one. I think Ohio probably gets it done, even though Parker Navarro has been replaced by a fake Parker Navarro. I like Ohio in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio favored in the spread by 6.5 right now. So looking like a touchdown victory for the Bobcats away. This one in Buffalo. But, I think the Bulls haven't lived up to what we thought they were going to be this year, Alex. And this might be a chance to do that. They have an opportunity to get bowl eligible, like you said. I think this one is super close. If you are a Toledo fan, this is a game you are rooting very heavily for the Buffalo Bulls, because that is the easiest path for Toledo to make the MAC championship game is if Buffalo takes down Ohio here.
Yeah, this one has a lot of championship implications. If you're Toledo, you need help. I think Toledo, Ohio, and Miami have the biggest range of scenarios. Ohio needs a lot more help than anybody else. But if you're Toledo, you are begging the Bulls for an early Christmas gift, or a post-Thanksgiving gift, whatever you want to call it, and a trip to the MAC championship.
Yeah, absolutely. So certainly MAC title implications in that game. That's the one I would be tuning into. But Kent State, Northern Illinois should be a close game on Friday. On Saturday, 2 games, both of them with MAC title game implications. These are other than Western Michigan, these are our top 3 teams for the a MAC title game spot. So at noon on ESPN Plus, Toledo taking on Central Michigan. This one in Mount Pleasant. Toledo favored in this game by 10.5. Both these teams 7-4, both these teams 5-2 in the conference, and both of these teams, this is it. This is the game that determines whether these guys have a shot at going to that MAC championship game. And by this point, they'll have a good idea. This game will probably be the determinant as to whether these guys go to the MAC championship game. So very important game for both of these teams. And Alex, I think this is definitely my game of the week.
This has to be, if not your game of the week, it's definitely mine. 1, as a Toledo alum, but 2, as somebody who's excited for a little bit of chaos in what could be the last game of the regular season for the Mid-American Conference. I think that this one is is title implications. Obviously a little bit of the chaos from the week will have both of these teams on edge. Both of them need a little bit of help. I think I'm a big fan of this game. This has to be one of the best games of the week and probably one of the best games of the weekend. I have a couple gripes with it though. I don't like that it is right up against the Ohio State Michigan game and it's only being aired on ESPN Plus. There was an opportunity to play this game at 4:00 on Friday, ESPN2 or ESPNU. Putting it on ESPN Plus sounds like it's a great idea, a little bit more accessible as a general rule. But let's be very honest. Who in the state of Michigan or the state of Ohio, outside of a few of us, are watching Toledo versus Central Michigan when Ohio State Michigan are playing?
Yeah, I think that's a fair argument. I think it sounds bad, but I also think at the beginning of the season, nobody thought that Toledo's season would come down to the final week. I think we all thought Toledo would have a MAC championship game appearance wrapped up before this point. And I don't know that folks were as high on Central Michigan as the Chippewas turned out to be. So I think this game preseason didn't look as big as it looks now. So for the conference, as you're scheduling these games, I don't know that this is this game looked as big as it was going to be. So hard to say that they should have moved this game or they should have moved the coverage of this game. I think it is what it is. I mean, this is how the game is now. And we'll see. I mean, there's a ton of games at noon on Saturday. And so I will be flipping through all of them, including the Ohio State Michigan game, but as well as this one. Another game at noon on Saturday. Who knew? This one on CBS Sports Network, Miami taking on Ball State. This one also MAC title implications, although really only for Miami.
Yeah, this poor Ball State. We were talking just a week ago about how they still had an outside shot. Now, granted, an outside shot. I want to be very clear about that. At making the MAC championship game, and they didn't do what they needed to do. That sadly, that meant falling on their face against Toledo. But I think that there's an opportunity here for Ball State. You can sit here, you can kind of win the Red Bird rivalry trophy. You're not going bowling at 5-7 with a win, but you can absolutely play spoiler to Miami. And when you're a rival, you love nothing more than playing spoiler.
Yeah, this one feels a little more like it's Ball State's rivalry than it is Miami. I think Miami certainly views the Bobcats as their main rival. And I think this one pales in comparison. Although, if you're a Miami fan, let me know how you feel about this rivalry. This season, though, very clear. This is Miami's game to lose. Certainly, you can lose any game, any week, for any reason. We saw Ball State take down Ohio this year. So we know that can happen. But I have a hard time seeing Miami lose this game. Although, again, if you are a fan of any other team in the Mid-American Conference, you are rooting against Miami in this one because that makes it way easier for your team to make the MAC championship game. So that's their title implications on that one. And certainly interesting as we get into these scenarios for the upcoming week about who goes to the championship. And Alex, I've got a bone to pick.
Go on.
That's what is going on with the conference, Alex? We had somebody reach out to us a week or two ago and say, hey, what tiebreakers are you using for your scenarios? Because I've found two different tiebreakers available on the MAC conference website. And as we looked into it, there's a very official looking PDF available that was put out prior to the 2024 season. And if you follow a maze of links to the championship football page and then click on the tiebreakers there, it takes you to a different page with different tiebreakers on it. This page seemingly published just a couple of weeks ago in November. And so had us questioning which tiebreakers are correct. Now, the tiebreakers are the same. They're just in a different order, which makes a big difference. and I don't know how you put out new tiebreakers and don't put out a press release.
So, Graham, let me just run down the list of changes. The two-team tiebreaker from 2024 to 2025. The two-team rule differences. So I'll just read the 2024 one and then the 2025 one. Tiebreaker 1, head-to-head. Number 2, win percentage versus all common opponents. 3, win percentage versus common opponents in order of finish. Combined win percentage of conference opponents. Sports source rating, number 5, and then random draw, number 6. In 2025, number 3, the win versus common opponents in order of finish, becomes tiebreaker number 4. Tiebreaker number 4, combined win percentage of conference opponents, became number 5, and then the sports source rating score moved from number 5 to 3. So that has been prioritized over win versus common opponents in order of finish and combined win percentage of conference opponents. And then the multi-team. Combined head-to-head percentage if all played each other. If not all common opponent, this is number 2. If not all common opponents, team that beat all others advance, which I think is a bad rule. We'll get into that in a minute. Number 3, win percentage versus all common opponents. Number 4, win percentage versus common opponents in order of finish. 5, combined win percentage of conference opponents. 6, sports source rating. 7, draw. The updated, you moved sports source rating from number 6 to number 4. Order finished opponent comparison moved from number 4 to number 5. So again, below the sports source rating. And combined opponent win percentage from 5 to 6. These feel like really bad reorderings, remixings, especially if you're not going to explain it to the public and you're just going to push it onto your championships page.
Well, I mean, we've talked to people all over the conference, Alex. Folks don't know what the tiebreakers are. They're so hard to find on the website. That's until just a few days ago. If you Googled MAC football tiebreakers, the first thing that came up was the PDF, which is wrong. And that's it's incredible that the conference hasn't done anything to ensure that the proper tiebreakers are out there. The first thing I would do, take down the article with the wrong tiebreakers. How is that still up? It's still up right now. Now, granted, it's moved down to the second result, but it's still up there. If you Google MAC football tiebreakers, it's one of the top results, and it's incredible to me that we're not worried about this. Also, I get it. Everyone's using this sports source tiebreaker here, and people like it. A lot of conferences like to use the sports source analytics, and they use it in different ways. The SEC likes to use the scoring metric, whereas other teams are using the team rating score. Any of those are fine, except for the fact that sports source is proprietary. So we rely on somebody who has sports source access to actually tell us what these ratings are. It makes it hard for fans and for anyone who doesn't have an active sports source subscription to get any sort of information from it. It makes the tiebreakers less decipherable. Also, it makes the tiebreakers underneath the sports source one pretty rarely applied. I mean, Alex, what this looks like to me is the conference got tired of doing math. They said, we don't want any percentages involved here. Throw out all the percentages. After it gets hard to do, we'll just do this ranking system that nobody can see. And it's just disappointing. Even if these were the tiebreakers that we're going to go with, just putting out a press release, just putting out an article that said, hey, by the way, check out our new tiebreakers, would have gone so far. No arguments here. If we put out a press release that says we got new tiebreakers, it makes it so much easier for us. But as a couple guys who are in the business of creating scenarios, certainly made our work a little harder.
And I have a couple issues with this. We've done the MS scenarios for the last 4 years now. We've done it 22, 23, 24, and now 25. So yeah, we've done it for 4 years. And we've always tried to do it the right way. We've tried to give you guys accurate information for rooting interest, for whatever. What kind of bugs me with this is that most of our stuff is correct anyway. Even with some of these updates. But the things that are incorrect look really, really bad. And I think this is a bad look on the conference. Graham, you and I were talking about this earlier. I think this is a bad look because it does one of two things. It lets the conference kind of just gloss over it and makes them kind of be the end all be all authority, which one they should be. But it hurts our ability to accurately report on the conference. You mentioned that earlier when we were talking in prepping the show. It makes it really hard for us to do our job to give people information that's consumable when we don't have the correct information.
Well, it makes it impossible. It makes it impossible for us to give out accurate results. And the reason we're harping so much on the MS scenarios is because no one else is doing it. Nobody else is putting out the scenarios, what it takes for your team to get to the MAC championship. That's in most years, the conference puts out some sort of list to that at some point, and nobody does it as consistently as we do. And it makes it so hard for us to put out this information when we don't have the information. So our MS scenarios are mostly correct. As soon as we're done recording this, we have to update them now that we have our new information. It just makes it impossible to be a fan of this conference when you don't know how to be a fan of this conference. And I think that's the issue. It's more of an issue for us because we're trying to put together these scenarios. We're trying to do, the media coverage thing, but it's also an issue for fans. When fans have a hard time determining how their team gets to the championship game, something's wrong. You got to make it easy for people to cheer for teams. And that's what we try to do every week when we put out that graphic, that beautiful graphic that you put together. That's, I think that's the issue here is you make it hard for people to be fans. They won't be. And there's certainly plenty of other options. Not everybody is as nuts as us, Alex. Not everybody loves MACtion quite the way we do. So make it easy for people to be fans. Come on. And maybe get your tiebreakers together,
Well, and I think, and a little bit further than that, I don't care that we necessarily had some wrong information. I mean, I do. It's frustrating. But yeah, help us do our job a little bit better. I'm
help us help you. Help me help you.
Yeah. Yeah. Graham, you had a great phrase earlier. And I'm going to use it, but I certainly want to credit you. You don't get to be the bad guy and then swoop in and be the hero by fixing a problem by pretending to fix a problem you created. I think you would be hard pressed to find somebody who cares about this league more than I do. And more than we do as a show. But I think that's spot on. You don't get to be the hero on a problem you created. Now you can own that publicly and say, hey, we should have done this. We made mistakes here. But you don't get to be the end all be all authority after not correcting the issue initially.
Well, it certainly makes it hard. Now we're going to rally. We're going to come back from this and we're going to put out our new scenarios. And you, the listener, will have plenty of time to argue about how your team gets to the MAC championship. Don't worry. We'll have updated scenarios for you. Really, actually, before you listen to us, all of the scenarios will be updated. So you don't have to worry about that. You'll know who to root for this weekend. Most of the things are still true. If you are a Toledo fan, you're rooting very hard for Ball State. You're rooting very hard for Buffalo. If you're a Miami fan, mostly you're just rooting for your guys. You're just rooting for Miami. It's a little bit easier for you to make the MAC championship game if CMU takes down Toledo. But mostly you just get to root for the Red Hawks. If you're an Ohio fan, you got so many things to look forward to. I can't list them all here, but you may want to invest in some crystals because it's tough for the Bobcats to make the MAC championship game. So that's connect with any deity that you have access to. You're going to need some prayers there. So CMU, similar to the Toledo situation, although you also got to take down Toledo. So yeah, I mean, in Western, it's obvious. Win your game, win and in. So do that. Western can also make the MAC championship game with a loss, but it gets harder. I had all kinds of numbers for this segment, Alex, and none of my numbers are accurate anymore. I want to be able to say, in 86% of scenarios, Western Michigan makes the MAC championship, and that number was accurate like 4 hours ago. No longer accurate. So don't quote me on that.
I can give you a number that is accurate. Central Michigan, you have a 19% chance of doing it.
There you go.
That is an up-to-date number, courtesy of our friend Adam Jacksa, the voice of the Central Michigan Chippewas. After lengthy discussions with him, 19% to our Chippewa fans.
Well, there you go. 19% Central Michigan. So I'm sure you can do the math for the rest of the teams just from that number. Actually, if you can do that math, send me a DM because that would make my job a lot easier. In any case, we're all going to be doing math this weekend as we watch these MAC games. Alex, I am excited. I'm excited for Turkey. I'm excited for Thanksgiving. I'm excited for MACtion. Mostly, I'm excited for a couple of days off work. That's what we got going on this next week. And Alex, I'm so excited as we close in on the end of the football season.
I love that we're kind of hitting this crossover point. With football coming down to, really coming to a close, something we didn't do, and I hate that we kind of glossed over this. I wanted to shout it out. Toledo volleyball winning their first ever MAC tournament championship, and if you're a Toledo fan, winning it on Bowling Green's court. How cool is that?
There you go. That's right. So shout out to the Toledo volleyball team for winning that championship. Also, to Western Michigan, who made their third championship game in 3 years, something like that.
Straight championship appearance, yeah.
So also shout out to Western Michigan. We might see a rematch of that in the football game. So
how fun would that be? Well, guys, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, continue to subscribe, like, share, support. We appreciate all of that. And we're going to continue to do our best to give you the best coverage possible of this great league, of the teams in this league. So continue to support us, subscribe, all of that jazz. And buckle up. We're in for a bumpy ride. We got 6 games left this week before we know who is in the MAC championship. We will probably know, depending on the result of the Western Michigan game, we will probably know at least one of the teams here in the middle of the week. But stay tuned, guys. We're in for a treat. Graham, anything else?
As Dizzy Gillespie said, Tin Tin Deo.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week as we prepare for the MAC championship. See ya.